Classic Game Room is brought to you by Ethel the Cyborg Ninja, Book 1, and Jesus the Coked Up Chicken #1, Special Edition, now on Amazon.
Back Classic Game Room on Patreon!
Banished from Earth Classic Game Room broadcasts from the Intergalactic Space Arcade on its never-ending mission to review everything. What's part spaceship shooter, part puzzle game, and all awesome? That's right, it's Quarth from Konami, released in 1990. Being played here on the Famicom. Quarth, one of the few games that begins with a Q, like Qbert or Truxton, because Truxton begins with all letters. Quarth is a game that you'd think I wouldn't like because I hate puzzle games and I suck at Tetris, but I love this one. It's really good. And I reviewed this years ago on the Game Boy. It makes a great Game Boy game. It's hard to say that it's any better on the Famicom, but it just looks more like a Famicom or an NES game. It's a pretty simple game for the most part, visually, but boy is it fun and incredibly challenging. So hang on to something because let's dive into some Quarth. I think there's some parts of the country where you could still be arrested for diving into Quarth. Who can say? So what do you do in this game? Well, you shoot blocks and score points. That's the most literal explanation. It's not at all like Tetris, even though it kind of is. So that was basically a very useless statement that just took up 2 seconds of your life. You're welcome. As you can probably tell from watching the gameplay, you try to make squares or rectangles and then score points. And if you can, make one giant square or rectangle, usually a rectangle, and fill in a couple things at once, you get some multiplier points. It's tricky until you play for a while and just sort of program your brain to the gameplay. Then it all makes sense. It's like reading The Matrix. I'm watching the gameplay while I'm editing this going, oh, you missed that. Oh, that was so obvious. But when you're playing the game, I don't think it's quite as obvious because if you don't fill in all of the blocks before they reach that line at the bottom of the screen, you die and then you lose a life and are sucked into the vacuum of space, screaming, Quarth! Quarth! for all eternity. The more you play the game, the more you'll see in advance what block combinations would make some bonus multipliers. It starts off slow. The first 2 or 3 levels are pretty easy, but then the game really starts moving quickly and keeps you on your toes. As you may have noticed from the menu screen, there's some 2-player options. I didn't get into them. Can't seem to get too many other people excited about games that begin with a Q. They all think it's Qbert. No, it's a game that begins with a Q. Like Fester's Quest. Suddenly they run away, screaming. But it's Quarth! Quarth! It's great with some voice effects. And really, it's great with anything. Just turn up the volume and rock out to the bouncy tune. This is one of those games that doesn't look like much until you play it. I think you'll be immediately addicted to Quarth, which is also illegal in many places. When you start the game, you can choose your level, and there's 2 different spaceship-like things to choose from, although I don't know if there's any difference between the 2. I can't really seem to figure that out. Then again, I'm not smart enough to play Quarth. I'm the idiot that thinks Fester's Quest begins with a Q. And as you might expect, I have a Classic Game Room shout-out and thank you going to the world's biggest Konami fan, a man who's also addicted to Quarth, loves to dive into Quarth, my man Mark, and his wife Suzanne from East Meadow, New York. Keep on Quarthing. Despite its reputation, Quarth is good for you. It challenges your reflexes and your brain because you see things in advance and you try to, at least I tried to like make these giant bricks out of things, only to realize that I was making my life more difficult, and then there'd just be like these giant stacks of blocks flying right towards my line, and then I died, and then next time I tried to like lay down 4 at once and then 3, but then you accidentally put down 1 somewhere you're not supposed to. And it's just a really fun game. Quarth being played here on the analog NT Mini, so it looks really nice because you know you want your Quarth to look good. The more you play, the better you'll get. So much Quarth. So little Quarth-time.
Classic Game Room has been brought to you by How to Make a Video Game Review Show That Doesn't Suck, Ethel the Cyborg Ninja, and Jesus the Coked Up Chicken on Amazon.
Welcome to the Lord Carnage Club being shouted from within. A turbo volcano! Starting with Billy and Andy Schleiss. Derek Langley. Michael and Ariana Nelson. Steven Chucknick. Al Stever. Jason Goy. Sergio Matthias Hergert. Sean Zoltek. Rick DeBarros. Philip Strabenmuller. Jack Stavris. Ohad Kane. And Tiago Pereira dos Santos Silva from Porto, Portugal. Tiago Pereira dos Santos Silva from Porto, Portugal.